Another milestone in COVID vaccine distribution as U.S. regulators announce that Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is both safe and effective. The shots are expected to get full emergency authorization by the end of this week. Here's what J&J's Vice President of Medical Affairs had to say about shot distribution.
Assuming necessary regulatory approvals, we are ready to begin shipping immediately and deliver enough single doses by the end of March to enable the vaccination of more than 20 million Americans.
Here to tell us what's next for J&J's vaccine is Quick Take's Madison Mills. Maddie, let us know, what does this clinical trial data show today?
Right, Renita. So really exciting news. U.S. health regulators saying that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, again, is both safe and effective, giving us access to a third potential vaccine to get in the rotation here in the United States. So I want to dig into just a couple of the numbers that we learned today that we didn't know about the J&J shots before this clinical trial data. So first we have that it's 68% effective globally at preventing any type of illness from COVID-19. So that ranges from, the sniffles or losing taste and smell all the way to more severe cases of the virus. So that's pretty huge. But also more importantly, there were 0 cases of hospitalizations or deaths from from participants in the trial who received the J&J vaccine. Also 85% effective at preventing severe cases of illness from the virus in those who were able to get the shots.
Maddie, that's pretty exciting news, but what do we know about the mutations? Talk to me about what we know about how this shot can fare against new variants.
Right. I mean, that's the big question right now because, when J&J started their trials, the mutations weren't a thing. So the challenge here is that scientists haven't been able to kind of catch the mutations and put them in a lab to test against this J&J shot. So the best way to look at this is by looking at how the shot did regionally. So I want to start by looking at the U.S. We heard that the shot was 72% effective at preventing severe illness from the coronavirus in those who got the J&J vaccine in the States. In Brazil, that number drops to about 68%. And then, of course, in South Africa, we see it drop even more to 64%. Now, what that tells me is that the vaccine struggles a little bit more with these variants. Now, what's important to note, though, again, 0 hospitalizations or deaths in any region. So still really exciting news, but we do see that the variants are just something we're going to have to watch.
Now, something else that's important to note that we're still waiting on this to get approved officially. What are the next steps for that?
Right. So regulators are looking at the data that came out today, just like we are, and they are expected to hold a vote as early as Saturday to approve this shot for distribution. So what happens after they make that vote? Well, basically, J&J manufacturers are going into severe action mode. They're going to make sure they get this shot into the hands of the federal government, and then the federal government is going to distribute the shots to states across the U.S. Nettles said, we heard from him earlier, that we're going to get about 4 million shots as early as next week. And what's cool about the J&J shots is that it's a single dose. So when we hear them say it's 4 million, that's 4 million people next week who are going to be fully vaccinated by getting this one J&J shot.
Very exciting. So what's the plan for distribution of the shot?
Yeah, so we'll hear from regulators a little bit more on that later in the week when they meet and have this vote. But, we're really going to see states having a lot easier of a time distributing this shot because another thing that's unique about J&J is that the shot does not need to be kept at severely low temperatures like the Pfizer and Moderna shot. So that's one difference that we see in the J&J vaccine. Another is that, we've heard that it's a little bit less effective at preventing illness, 68%, as opposed to, 95, like we've heard from Pfizer and Moderna. But it still prevents hospitalizations and deaths, which is huge.
That is huge, Maddie. And quickly, how could the addition of this J&J shot affect the timeline for reaching herd immunity in the United States?
It's hard to say. Right now, we're at about 11 months away, but that's only including the data we have about these 2-dose shots. So the inclusion of a single dose in the U.S., by the way, has bought up 100 million of these doses. Could be huge for plummeting that number from 11 months all the way to 6, potentially.
Madison Mills, thank you so much for that update.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.